Hey, so today we're going to talk about the movie Driving Miss Daisy, and we'll be talking about how it touches upon themes in Southern culture, namely themes such as racism, family, and resourcefulness. We'll also talk about how all these themes play into Middle Southern culture specifically, which is from 1930 to 1970. And in watching this movie, the first thing you notice is that these themes are very understated in comparison to other movies that we analyze. The movie is primarily about Hoke and Miss Daisy's relationship, but this actually almost serves to emphasize these Southern themes because you see them bleeding through the movie anyway. Despite the movie being about something that's not necessarily a Southern, theme, you see these themes showing through the movie anyway. The themes of racism and resourcefulness and family, and you see Southern culture being portrayed in the movie.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is resourcefulness, and the main character Hoke is, as well as Miss Daisy, is a very resourceful man. And this is portrayed in a scene where one of the workers at Miss Daisy's son's plant is stuck in the elevator, and Hoke is able to come and help him out of the elevator by telling him how to fix the problem with it by adjusting a latch and pulling the lever. And he also does some things around the house for Miss Daisy, such as planting flowers and gardening for her, as well as other random things that he knows how to do, like clean light bulbs and whatnot. And this kind of ties in with Miss Daisy's resourcefulness herself.
Yeah, so it also kind of shows, initially when Hoke is hired, Miss Daisy is kind of recalcitrant to his new position in her life. And this kind of shows how Miss Daisy and Hoke was hired to be her driver. And this kind of shows how Miss Daisy doesn't want her usefulness or her kind of resourcefulness impeded by this new figure in her life, which she viewed as happening.
Alright, so next we're going to talk about family. So the son, Booley, as he's called in the movie, always comes to help out his mother. No matter what, he'll drop what he's doing in order to come and see his mother. In fact, one time he's late for an important business meeting just because Hope took a can of salmon, and he always, whenever he talks to his mother, is always kissing her on the cheek or on the forehead and showing affection toward her. As well as Hoke, throughout the movie, although they start out as at odds with each other, Hoke becomes Miss Daisy's best friend, as she admits later on, and by the end of the movie is actually taking care of her within a nursing home and feeding her Thanksgiving dinner.
Another important aspect of family values are community values. They're very similar, and these values are also presented in the movie. At the very beginning of the movie, actually, Miss Daisy crashes her car into her neighbor's driveway and through various other objects, and this serves as the plot of the movie later on. But it is actually portrayed as a community event, kind of. As soon as Miss Daisy gets out of the car, you see neighbors running out, there's police officers, the son comes back, there's a veritable crowd of people surrounding her and the incident, and this kind of shows how the Southern community is very close, and how when one little thing happens, suddenly the whole community is there. Another way in which community is shown, the community values are shown in the movie, is through Idela's death. And Idela was Miss Daisy's, kind of caretaker.
Yeah.
And in one scene, Idela dies. She dies rather suddenly, and they show her funeral. And her funeral is kind of a conglomerate of her African-American friends, and Hoke is there as well, and the son, Booley, is there, and Miss Daisy's there, and this kind of mixture of all these different personalities at her funeral shows the tightness of the community around this one woman in wake of her death, and that definitely emphasizes the community values of the South. Another important aspect that this movie emphasizes is racism in the South. This is shown primarily through the bombing of Miss Daisy's synagogue. And this kind of shows a different side to Southern prejudice, where normally a lot of people think of it as directed at African Americans, when In this case, it's directed at Jews. And additionally, there's another point in the movie in which Miss Daisy wants to go see Martin Luther King speak, and this in itself shows the prevalence of Southern racism in the middle Southern era. But also, Miss Daisy presumes that Hoke wants to go watch Martin Luther King speak just because he's black, and this kind of shows how there's still like some lingering racism in the time. And there's also, I guess, a very overt way in which racism is shown is through when Hoke and Miss Daisy take a trip to Alabama. Hoke is stopped by cops for no reason, just for having a car, and that's obviously very, very racist.
And so, in order to relate this to the Southern culture at the time, as Ethan was saying, this is kind of the middle Southern era in which there's a transition going on, not only just in the South, but also in the country as a whole. It's becoming more modern, more of what we think of as modern. Racism is kind of fading away as like Hoke and Miss Daisy, who are, black and white, they become best friends, and they confide in each other and they trust each other. And as well as showing how America as a whole is changing between generations. It's becoming more secularized and like a little more self-absorbed, which is kind of shown through and characterized in Booley the son, as he's like kind of this rich entrepreneur and he doesn't really have a drive to have children or extend his family, while the more humble and committed older generation is characterized in Miss Daisy, in which she goes to temple every weekend, and as she had a humble beginning, she hates being called rich, and all these other examples in which she kind of sticks to her values and is very strict with herself.
And so, kind of in conclusion here, as I said at the start, the movie doesn't actually focus on it doesn't really focus on any aspect of Southern culture, but focuses on Hoke and Miss Daisy's relationship. But as I said before, it really serves to show or to emphasize these Southern values. As you can tell, we rattle off a ton of different examples of racism and family values and resourcefulness, and these all show up in the movie despite the fact that it's a movie about just a woman and her driver, essentially her caretaker. And so this shows like the strength of Southern values. Additionally, as Charlie just mentioned, the movie kind of represents a transition in American life, and you can look before at our earlier video about the birth of a nation. You can see heavy racist themes being portrayed, and you can look at our video about
Forrest Gump.
About Forrest Gump. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you can see that we don't really talk about racism that much in our analysis of that, because it doesn't really show up in Forrest Gump as much. And so this shows the prevalent or the lingering racism displayed in this movie shows like the transition era that this movie is capturing, the middle Southern era. And I think that about wraps things up. I'm Ethan.
I'm Charlie.
Thank you for watching.